hit by hail, completely cracked. If you live in the Lone Star State, you already know this, but for those that don't, you actually have to have a separate policy for hail damage on your vehicle, and this is why. They're known for large hail. Now, unfortunately, they were hit very hard yesterday. We had reports of 4.5-inch hailstones. That's the size of a grapefruit. Let's bring in Fox Weather's Nicole Valdez. She's in Dallas this morning. Nicole, just south of you, the skies just opened up. And now looking at the forecast, we're back in it for Friday.
That's right, Britta. The focus now again on the Dallas Metroplex after really an interesting day yesterday. I'll tell you, throughout the day here in Dallas, it was a significant amount of rain into the afternoon hours. Things then got a little bit quiet, and that's when we really saw that things pick up just south of us over in Waco. And you saw some of that video there, and you can hear the sounds of that hail just pelting those cars. It might have taken a lot of people by surprise. And we're looking at some of the storm reports today, and just the wide range of size of the hail that we saw come down in some of those cells yesterday is miraculous. You're taking a look at this graphic here that shows you anywhere from 2 inches to maybe closer to 4-inch sized hail, and that's so you think, golf ball, tennis ball, even softball sized hail is what some people saw, experienced. There's one man here who got out of his car, just honestly, his words say it all. Take a listen.
Oh my God. I got some souvenirs. So these are nuts.
You can see it. He's got like these 4 massive, pieces of hail, and it's just unimaginable when you don't think about, likely how not only big these hail, pieces can be, but the damage that they can do. I mean, they can break windshields, they can do significant damage to your car, maybe your home. The videos yesterday of it coming into those pools, that cow running by. I mean, it just gives you an idea of what this stuff can really do. So again, preparing for that is really key, right? To make sure that you're not outside when these things start to come down, or unfortunately, maybe even worse severe weather with those systems. And of course, that's going to be the same message we want to get people to know ahead of tomorrow's, maybe second round of this. Britta, quickly, we know also DFW was closed, a ground stop issued by the FAA yesterday for about a few hours at the very least, as those cells were moving northeast towards the Dallas area. Again, thankfully, the city here avoided a majority of what you just saw in that video, but definitely probably quite the scare for a lot of people in the Waco, Texas area.
Yeah, and looking at the reports on FlightAware this morning, Nicole.
Let's turn our attention to Messenger Elijah Muhammad's teachings from the Fall of America in 1973. Chapter 36, The Fall of America, titled The 4 Great Judgments of America. To be plagued with too much rain will destroy property and lives. It swells the rivers and creeks. Too much rain floods cities and towns. Large bodies of water at the ocean shorelines will be made to swell with unusually high waves, dumping billions of tons of water over the now shoreline. Rain destroys property and kills cattle by drowning them in lowlands. Rain destroys the hiding places of vicious beasts and reptiles, bringing them out fighting in small towns and people's homes and farms. Rain weakens and destroys railroads, truck line beds, and bridges. Rain undermines foundations of all types of buildings. Rain makes the atmosphere too heavy with moisture, causing sickness. Wind with rain can bring destruction to towns and cities, bringing various germs, causing sickness to the people. It produces unclean water by the swelling of streams and destroying reservoirs of pure drinking water used for the health of the people. Rain is a destructive army within itself. Hailstones are also a property and life destroyer. Snow is of the most dreaded plague when it comes in great drifts from 5 to 25 feet. It buries your property and lives. It destroys your highways, your cities, and your concrete and gravel in towns and cities. It puts a great burden of expense upon the cities. It puts a great burden of expense upon the city to repair it. The cave-in of roofs of homes, the cutting off of homes, the cutting off of transportation, isolating areas, bringing about starvation. And communication is destroyed with the icing of communication wires. Snow looks pretty because of its clean look. Almost everything of nature is beautiful, but it can be turned into death and destruction against man. Snow is prophesied to be one of the weapons that God will use against the wicked America. Job chapter 38, verses 22 and 23. Hell also is mentioned in the same two verses where God plainly tells us that he has preserved it against the time of trouble, against the day of the battle and war. The Holy Quran also teaches us that God used snow, rain, wind, hail, earthquakes, and fire against former wicked people. Is America any better than the people we read about in the history that God destroyed? No, she is not as good. These people were not as wicked as the American people. Earthquakes can destroy towns and cities instantly. America is in the grip of divine judgment. America is in a position towards her once slave, so-called Negro, as Pharaoh was with Israel as his slave. She is in this position because of the injustice done to the American so-called Negro slave, brought to America over 400 years ago, and refuses to let them go free. They only say that you are free, knowing within that you are not able to leave them without anything. But the injustice continues to increase. Now they plan death. So this God has predicted by the prophets to come to the defense of this people, meaning so-called Negroes, in the last days after they served the enemy for 400 years. The Bible declares to Abraham in Genesis that God would judge the people to whom his people, meaning Abraham's, would be in bondage. This does not mean Israel. Let me read that again. This does not mean Israel. This means the present black people, the members of that black nation who have and are fulfilling their prophecy. God, in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, will not be defeated. The more evil, deceiving, tricking, and making of false promises to the American so-called Negro only increases America's divine chastisement, doom. America knows that her trouble lies in her mistreatment of the black man, the so-called Negro. But she is too wicked to give up tricking the Negro and deceiving him on false promises. She just cannot stop. The opportunity is too open, and she thinks that there is no one to hinder her. But God has chosen us to be his people, and he delights in fighting the enemy. According to the history of the former people, he delighted himself by going forth against them when they exceeded the limit. So it is with America. They must be separated. America will not agree to see the Negro separated from her until she has suffered divine punishment, as Pharaoh suffered. The same thing that other evil nations suffered before them is now coming upon this people. She seeks to keep her slaves robbed of opportunity and wealth. She envies success coming to American Negro free slaves. She charges them high prices to keep them down. She deceives them through a few of what we call, quote, Uncle Toms in the political circus. In the political circle, clergy class, and all professional classes. She offers them little favoritism to help her work against their own people, the black people. But they too will suffer along with the enemy of justice of the poor so-called Negro. They must be separated. Envy and hatred are growing between the two people. Regardless of their preachings of social integration, the truth must come. What is better than the program you find I have written? You two, meaning black and white, cannot get along in peace, since you never have gotten along in peace. Do you know why the white American does not like to talk with you about separation? And why he calls separation of the two people the wrong solution for peace between the people? He knows that it is promised and that God will do it. Then why do they not agree with separating themselves from you and me and we from them? Why are the black man and the white man all over the earth now in disagreement with each other to live in peace? Do you know why? Oh, foolish American so-called Negro. Seek some of this earth that you can call your own to live on in peace. Unite and ask the government for a portion of America. This is what we need. This is what we need. Somewhere to live to ourselves and let the white man live to himself. The two people are not brothers. They are alien to each other. God did not make them brothers to each other. I ask you, my brother and sister, to learn this and learn it quickly and fly for your life to the refuge of Allah. Come follow me by Messenger Elijah Muhammad of the Holy Nation of Islam. Beloved, that was from the fall of America in 1973. And we see the fulfillment of the messenger's message even in this age of mess. When the messenger mentioned the cattle, I just turned on the news 2 days ago and I seen this beautiful muscular cattle out in a storm. And it was being hit by hailstones. They say 5.4, but when I researched it, it's 5.8. It's like 6-inch pieces of grapefruit, pieces of ice falling from 6 miles high. Do you know how hard and powerful of an impact that is? Imagine somebody throwing a fastball at you and hitting you upside your head. This is how this cattle was getting hit with these hailstones. The first thing I thought in my mind was, it wasn't, why didn't they take the cattle in the barn? It was, why was the cattle hemmed up in the goddamn cage? See, this is the mentality of the devil. They put a fish in a bowl. They put the cat in the house. They put the dog on a leash. They'll put a bird in the cage. They'll put a black child, a black teenager, a black father, a black mother, a black elder in the county, state, federal, and private prisons, all over the world. We have to wake up, family. The time is here. The destruction is nigh. Only the messenger's message will guide you and me through this age of mess. Accept your own and be yourself. The struggle continues. Salam Allah. Peace, God. Peace, Goddess.